Good morning, and yes, this is another week with me with the black wig. Halloween has just finished this week, and I always am that spooky bitch who would like to carry on Halloween. So we have one last week of one makeup and murder. If you are squeamish and you don't want to hear anything about murder, blood, rape, anything like that, this isn't the video for you. Please go check out my other videos. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Edmund Kemper III. Today I'm going to do a Black Widow kind of vibe. I'm going to do like sort of, you know, like Fester's sort of gold digging wife, but with black hair. That's what I'm going to try and do, and maybe a little bit more gothy because, well, I've got a black wig on and, you know, why not? I mean, it's just so long. I don't know how you guys with long hair deal with it because I have no idea. So Edmund Kemper III was born on the 18th of December in 1948, which makes him a Sagittarius. They are friendly, energetic, honest, and in some ways these definitely were Edmund's traits, but not to his victim's advantage. Edmund was born in Burbank, California, so he had two sisters, and he was the middle child to husband and wife, Clarnell Kemper and Edmund Kemper II. Originalities. Love the originalities here. Ed's father was a World War II, I think it was II, veteran who became an electrician once he came home. When describing his Edmund's mother, he said, and this is quote, "Suicide missions in wartime and the atomic bomb testings were nothing compared to living with her." Edmund's mother, Clarnell, refused to coddle her son as it may turn him gay. Edmund had a rather turbulent childhood. His father left in 1957, and due to some strange behaviour like harming animals and playing with weird games with his sisters called gas chamber, where he would tie up his sisters and watch them struggle. After this, his mother decided that she didn't want her already 6-foot-something son to live upstairs because she was scared of him harming his sisters and her. So she decided to make him sleep in the basement on his own. Now, this basement was lovely and dark and dingy and, you know, really what you wanted to put your child in, because that's not going to affect him mentally at all. His mother carried on her verbal abuse of him. She used to mock him for his height and his stature. Now, at the age of 15, he was 6'4" and big. He was a big boy. Kemper one day decided that he had had enough with his mum and he was going to run away, and he was going to find his dad and he was going to live with his dad. But that didn't last long, as his father had actually remarried. So he stayed with his dad and his new wife for not that long, and Kemper II basically said, "You have to leave, you have to go stay with your paternal grandparents because my wife can't handle you with the stress." So he went and moved into his paternal grandparents, their farm in North Fork. Well, it didn't really go too well. Kemper described his grandfather as senile and his grandmother as constantly emasculating him and his granddad. I'm going to actually set my face because last time I didn't set, and you know, I might actually keep this makeup on today. So on August 27, 1964, Edmund's grandmother was sitting at the kitchen table when she and Ed got into an argument that proved to be rather fatal. This argument made Kemper so angry that he went and got the rifle. He shot his grandmother in the head before firing twice more in the back. When Edmund's grandfather, who was out running errands, came home, Edmund went outside and fatally shot him in the driveway. Now, I've got to do my eyebrows, so bear with me. And I realised like last time my eyebrows aren't that like thick, so we're going thick. So bear with me. Okay. Kemper then called up his mum and asked him what he should do, to which she said, "You call the police, and if you don't, I'll call them for you." So Edmund finally called the police, and then when he was asked why he did what he did, he quoted, "Just wanted to see what it felt to kill Grandma." It was deemed astonishing that someone of 15 years old could do such a heinous crime. He was sent to the California Youth Authority, and FYI, at the same time, Lawrence Whitaker, aka one of the parts of the Toolbox Killers, was also in the California Authority. She wants to be snatched. There's no information out there to see if they actually linked up or hung out while they were at the juvie. But how interesting is that? Is that basically two like serial killers were actually in the same facility. It kind of goes with the rule of thumb. There's how many people in a juvenile jail, and 90% of them may come out of juvie and then be normal, withstanding like citizens, and then there's always one or two that slip through the cracks, and those cracks were Edmund and Lawrence. Yeah. While at juvie, Kemper was given his first IQ test, where he tested a 136. Now 136 is pretty damn clever. I will probably never see that ever on an IQ test myself, but you know, hey, listen, we love to try. And then he was later actually tested at another facility when he was older, and he came up with like a 145, which is like super genius, like super genius. In December 1969, Kemper was released, which was either on his 21st birthday or around his 21st birthday. His mum, by this time, had married and then divorced, so was again living on her own. And part of his parole was to go live with his mum, even though his psychiatrist said, "Don't live with your mother." A part of like his accordance to parole is that he had to go to college. So he went to college. What colour are we feeling? I'm feeling like she's a dark bitch. So let's go with Midnight Dip. By the way, I'm no makeup artist. This is just me playing around right now. So if you want a real makeup artist, I ain't your channel, girl. If you want to like a laugh at someone, this is me. Kemper desperately wanted to become a police officer. That was like his, like, you know when you grow up and you go, what do you want to be when you're older? Kemper was like, I want to be a police officer. But when he went to go and try to be a police officer, he was refused. Not because he killed 2 people, which actually, by the way, FYI, was expunged off his records by now because he had done his parole and everything, but because he was over the height requirement. By this time, he was 6'9". 6'9". Instead, what he did is he decided to be friends with all the police officers. They actually gave him the nickname of Big Ed. He actually got a job in the California Highway Department, and during this time he actually got into a relationship with a 16-year-old high school student, and by in a relationship he actually got engaged to this girl. He decided, that's it, me and toxic lady aka devil mom, I'm gonna move out of here because it's just too much, and I just have to leave. And you know, he saved up enough money and he went and moved in with a friend in Alameda, and that didn't really help the cause of getting away from his mother, because his mother still turned up at the house and called him like all the time. Now, that's giving me mixed messages. You either hate your son or you love your son, or you can't, or is it the fact that she just couldn't deal with him not being there to belittle, so therefore she had to like be present all the time. And then he got into a really bad motorcycle accident where it was so bad that he then couldn't carry on riding motorcycles, which was part of his passion. So out of the settlement money, he got the 15k and he actually bought himself a Ford Galaxy. Now, if my memory serves me well, Ford Galaxies at that time were the style of car that police officers were driving. Obviously his job was out on the highway, so he was traveling up and down the highway quite a lot. So he actually saw quite a lot of things that were happening in those days on the highway. And he noticed there were a hell of a lot of hitchhikers. Now, that kind of sparked his interest. What he did is he actually picked up, and he says he picked up and started honing his craft of how to be the perfect person to pick up hitchhikers. Whoa, that much hair just came out of this wig. He actually practiced over 150 times before he felt the homicidal sexual urges, which he called little zapples. I mean, where? Why? Little zapples, what does that even mean? So between 1972 and 1973, Kemper went on a killing spree. He ended up killing up to 8 women. First were Mary Ann Pesch and Anita Lucchesa. They were both students from Fresno State. So basically they wanted to go to somewhere else, and he said he was going that way. So they all got popped into the car, and obviously he had done his like research of like, I've picked up 150 girls, so I know how to make them feel like nothing to worry about. So what happened is after driving around for an hour, he then reached a secluded wood near Alameda. Now do you remember? That's where his apartment was near. He intended to rape them, but then having learned from the serial rapist, which he met when he was in juvie, he knew never to leave a witness. He handcuffed Pesch and locked Lucchesa in the trunk. He then stabbed and strangled Pesch to death before killing Lucchesa in a similar manner. He grew a fascination with taking photos of his victims when dead and also having sexual intercourse with the corpses. Yeah, he was a necrophile. He then dismembered their body parts and put them in plastic bags. Now, he kind of kept the heads around longer than normal because he had some sort of sexual intercourse with the heads of his victims. Don't know why, just very much a kink of his. And then he later disposed of the body parts at a later date. He then went on to kill 4 more women till he got to his grand finale. Now I'm gonna like go and get sort of like finish this up, sort my life out, clean up, put my other ensembles on, and I'll get back to this. Okay, kind of ended up more like sort of 20s style doll. So where were we? Yes, so he committed his first 2 murders, and then basically he carried on his spree. Now I'm gonna skip those other people because I feel you could go anywhere else and kind of get the whole gist of what Edmund Kemper III did. On April the 20th, 1973, after coming home from a party, Clarnell Kemper, which is Kemper's mother, came home from a party and awakened Edmund from her coming in. She sat in her bedroom, she was reading a book, and Kemper came in and she said, I suppose you're gonna want to sit up all night and talk now. To which he replied, no, good night, and closed the door. Now, little did Carnell know is that basically her son was waiting for her to fall asleep. Sorry, I'm just distracted by this blush right now. I think I put a bit too much on, sorry. He walked into her bedroom and bludgeoned her with a claw hammer. And that kind of wasn't it. He also then slit her throat and then cut off his mother's head and engaged in iramato. Google it. It's a big word, I know. Google it. It's IRRAMATIO. Iramato. And then used her head afterwards as a dartboard. After all this, he then decided to go for a drink and hide his mum's body in the closet. Now, when he went to have a drink is where all the other police officers are. So he must have had like this vile satisfaction that he just killed his mother. His mother's body was in the closet at home and he's having a drink down the local bar and there's police officers around him. Okay. So then once he got home, he invited his mum's BFF over for a drink and some dinner and to watch a movie. Now, what is it? Date night? Her name was Sarah Taylor, aka Sally. So she turned up and he strangled her to death, decapitated, and spent the night with her body. He then did what he did with his mother and hid her body in the closet. He then cleaned up the house and left a note for the police saying approx at 5:15 a.m. Saturday, no need for her to suffer anymore at the hands of this horrible murderous butcher. It was quick, asleep, the way I wanted it, no sloppy and incomplete, gents. Just a lack of time, I got things to do. I mean, what does that mean? Kemper then fled to Colorado, but once arriving at Colorado, he didn't hear any news about the murder of his mother and her BFF, and that he left him in the closet. So he decided that was it. No news about his mum dying and how he killed her, so he called out the police, and he was like, hey, I killed my mum, she's in the closet with her best friend. I'm in Colorado, come arrest me. Now, funny thing is, the police didn't believe him. They thought, it's Big Ed, he's having a laugh. Let's not. Until they went round his house and saw that his mum and her best friend was in the closet. Then they went to Colorado and picked him up. So when asked why he turned himself in, he said the original purpose had gone. He was found guilty at trial and got charged with life, and he actually requested the death penalty by torture. To which that didn't happen because Kemper's still alive, and he's actually lives in the same prison on the same block as Charles Manson and Herbert Mullen, whom he has a disdain for. We don't know why, but he has a disdain for. I have a feeling because he was also killing at the same time in the same area, so he took away like the glamour of his murders. But yes, this is my last spooky makeup and murder. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Again, I have taken a lot of inspiration from Bailey Sarian. She does this every Monday, which is amazing, and I actually watch it every Monday. It's been a real sort of like pleasure for me to do this because I am actually severely dyslexic, so writing a whole and doing the research of this has been somewhat kind of interesting for me because I've never done anything like this, but it proves to me that I can do this if it's something that I enjoy. So I hope you guys like this. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you had a spooky time. Bye. Keep your husbands away from me.